Hi, my name's Craig from the Sound Therapy Company, and today we're going to be talking about the placebo effect. One of the comments that gets thrown at complementary medicine is, oh, that's just placebo effect. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts and opinions on the placebo effect. It'd be really cool to open up a discussion on this, to get other people's opinions and views, and there's some things that puzzle me about it, so it'd be nice if anybody who's got a view or opinion in that area can put it in the comments below, and let's have a conversation about this. So there's a couple of things that I would say straight off the bat. Number one, placebo effect does exist. It's a well-researched phenomenon. Da, 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 da. It's been shown that 30 to 40% of all healing could be attributed to placebo effect. So this is whether it's mainstream medicine, pharmaceutical drugs, or complementary medicine. So placebo effect is a thing, and it applies equally to mainstream medicine as it does complementary medicine. So singling out complementary medicine as saying that's just placebo effect isn't really a valid argument, because it applies to all healing, whether mainstream or complementary. So that's the first point. The second point is that the placebo effect demonstrates the power of our mind and bodies to manage its own healing process. So placebo effect, in a nutshell, 30 to 40% of the time, if you believe something is going to do us good, it will. This is one of the standards or benchmarks or thresholds, whatever you want to call it, that when testing pharmaceutical drugs, the research is, does this drug work better than a placebo effect? So people are given the sugar-coated pills, no active ingredients, and yet they monitor how does that work against the actual drug that they're trialing. There's even been research done where people are told this is a placebo pill, it's got no active ingredients in, but it might do you good. And even when people know it's just a sugar pill, it can still have a positive effect on symptoms that they're researching. To me, this demonstrates the power of the mind and the body to manage its own healing process. So dismissing something as that's just placebo effect is not really a valid argument, because it's demonstrating the power of the mind and the body. So to me as a practitioner, if somebody comes through the door and they leave, they get a relief from symptoms that they're having, whatever they might be, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. If they go away feeling more positive and over the next few days they notice a difference in their well-being, to me that's a great outcome. So whether it's placebo effect or not, if the client feels a benefit, then that session has been worthwhile. So those are my two main things. Firstly, placebo effect does exist, but it applies equally to mainstream medicine as to the complementary medicine world. Secondly, dismissing the placebo effect also dismisses the power of the mind and the body to manage its own healing process. Now, let's look at a few other concepts as well. One of the things that puzzles me, and this is where I'm open to somebody enlightening me on this subject, is that the scientific world is all about exploration, about looking into the unknown, into the things that are not yet explained. In many cases, it's our best understanding of our current knowledge. So often in the past, we've had a strongly held belief, scientific belief, and that's changed because of new evidence. Now, it seems that quite often, when looking at complementary medicine, the science community can be really blinkered. There are more people coming through and that have been researching for a number of decades. I'll mention some of those in another video. So at the end there'll be links to other videos that I've done on this topic. But to give them a name check in here, Bill Bengston, James Oshman, they're just a couple that I've looked at some of their evidence and research into energy healing. But yeah, one of the other arguments that's landed at the door of complementary medicine is that it's pseudoscience and new age woo-woo. And what it seems to be to me is that the theories that are put in place in the science world, let's call it the Newtonian science world, theories that apply there, when somebody applies the same principles or theories to the spiritual or the complementary medicine world, it's, oh, that's woo-woo, it's pseudoscience, it doesn't apply there. The argument that we're being selective with what information we take and etc. So that's one of the things that puzzles me a little bit around this. So I know the unified field is more of a theory at the moment. There's not been a lot of practical applications of that. And the quantum field is a bit different. There's been a few uses of that and technologies that actually use quantum mechanics. So this is a more studied and understood area of science. Probably still more that we don't know than we do in these areas. So this idea that particles can be in different places at the same time, what happens over here can affect what happens over there without there being any tangible connection between them. So things like distance energy healing, where people aren't in the same room. So this is where Bill Bengston's done a lot of research in laboratory conditions and using proper scientific protocols, and has observed some really astounding things. And I won't go into detail here because I've got another video on that. How come, okay, these theories are okay in the scientific world, but they're not okay in the spiritual or the complementary medicine world? Why can we not apply the same logic to these areas? And like I say, I'm really interested to understand that more. So if anybody's got any comments or anything they'd like to share on that, please, let's start a conversation. So for me, I started off life as an electrical engineer. And back then, if you'd have said that I would be in complementary medicine, yeah, I'd have probably laughed, in all honesty. That there was that part of me at that time that thought it was woo-woo, but a number of things have happened. So through my own direct experience, so this is how complementary therapies and medicine has helped me, and then also seeing the benefits to clients. Along with Bill Bengston, I really like his approach to this, that he calls himself a healthy skeptic. So actually, I'm going to cover it in this video. So Bill Bengston calls himself a healthy skeptic. And he had some back issues when he was young, and a friend of his was an energy healer and suggested trying something out. Bill at that point was a non-believer, but he found that by going for these sessions, he felt a benefit. So he set up some experiments to prove, almost to debunk what was happening, you know, what his friend was doing, to find a rational explanation and to debunk this energy healing. And he's been trying to do that now for the last 30 odd years, 40 years. And he calls himself a healthy skeptic because what he says is that the things he's observed, he can't deny what he's observed, that the reactions and responses to energy healing that have occurred, even over distance healing, that he's observed some really amazing things. But the one thing he hasn't been able to do is find a rational explanation for it. So this is the thing where we can dismiss things when we can't explain them. Being a healthy skeptic, I really like that idea. So along with Bill, I've observed so many almost unbelievable responses that clients have had from sound healing treatments. And the more I work with sound, the more amazed and flabbergasted I am at some of the benefits that people feel after having a sound healing treatment. There are measurable outcomes from having sound healing treatments, and knowing a bit about that and observing clients' reactions, I've got some theories myself on what's happening and what's occurring, but it's really difficult to prove those. So it's in this area again of, okay, we're seeing tangible benefits. Coming back to Bill Bengston's research, he's got statistically significant, I have to slow down when I'm saying that, outcomes in his research, but he still can't explain exactly what's going on. But the statistics, I struggle with S words, statistics, statistically significant. The numbers and the observations speak for themselves. So there's part of my rational mind that can really latch on to some of this underlying scientific theory about what's occurring. James Oshman talks about electron flow. So within our energy fields, the body has subtle energy fields. If you bring two potentials close together that have a slightly differing potential, they will start to interact in some way. so either positively or negatively, they will start to try to come to resonance, which is a term for saying that they start to become similar. They start to vibrate at the same frequencies, that their potentialities, positive and negative, the potentials, a bit like magnets, they either repel or they'll pull together, depending on the force of the fields, and the stronger field will influence the weaker field a bit more. And he talks about electron flow. So these are all ideas that, as an electrical engineer, totally make sense. Coming back to Newtonian physics, these are things that we can measure. I got a really good understanding of that. So James Oshman's descriptions on what happens when we use our hands in an energy treatment. Some people use touch and on-body energy healing. I prefer my hands slightly away from. I feel the energies more when my hands are slightly removed from the body, so there's an air gap. James Oshman has come up with some theories about what's happening in those situations when we're moving hands over our body, and talking about the different fields and the interactions of those fields. So the rational engineer in me can really get a hold of these concepts and go, oh wow, yeah, I really understand this. I've got an understanding of what could be happening here. But also there's that part of me now as the complementary medicine sound practitioner with that hat on, that I've observed clients have so much benefit from these sessions that really part of me doesn't need to know the science behind it. It's nice to have it there and to feel that there is some logical rationale behind what we do. But for me, like I say, if clients come through the door, they have a sound session and they go out feeling improved in some way, that's a great outcome. And that to me is what is most important. So the purpose of the video is not to convince anyone that I'm right. I'm sharing my observations, my opinions, my thoughts, and it'd be really good to get a conversation going about people either with similar views or people with opposing views. I think what happens quite a lot of the time, somebody will just dismiss something as, oh, that's just placebo effect. But then when you ask them why, they've nothing to back up what they're saying. So it seems to be the same from both sides of the argument here. Somebody will say something, make a remark, make a comment. When you ask for more information and try and engage in a conversation about it, there's nothing forthcoming. It's pseudoscience, it's new age woo-woo, it's whatever. So yeah, this video isn't about changing anybody's mind, it's about having a conversation. So coming back to, I mentioned earlier on in the video that there are outcomes that are measurable in sound healing. So there's been lots of research around sound and brainwave activity. So we know by listening to certain types of sounds how that is going to affect our brainwaves. Whether that's going to relax and soothe, whether it's going to stimulate. There are research papers on this. So these are things that we can measure. We're coming back to things we can observe and measure, Newtonian physics if you want to call it that. So brainwave activity is one of those. The other things that we can observe is somebody's heart rate, somebody's blood pressure, breathing rate. We can see during sound healing sessions that the brainwaves slow down, the body goes into the relaxation response. When our brainwaves slow down, our heart rate, our breathing slows down, our blood pressure drops. And these are observable effects, so we can see that the sound is having a definite impact, or the body is responding in some way to the sounds that we're hearing. So there is rationale there. There are measurable ways that we can observe the benefits of a sound healing session. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, not trying to change anybody's mind about these areas, but it'd be really good to have a conversation. Just to summarise, for me, the main things are 30 to 40% of all healing is placebo effect, or could be put down to placebo effect. So whether that's mainstream or complementary medicine. Also, the placebo effect shows us the power of the mind and body to manage its own healing process. What I'd be really interested to hear is if there's anybody out there who's got some definite science to back up the idea that things like the quantum field, when it's applied to Newtonian physics and science, research is a valid theory, but when you apply it to spirituality or complementary medicine, why it's not, why it's pseudoscience. So if anybody can enlighten me there, please put it in the comments below. There are measurable outcomes. I've seen and witnessed clients going through some really massive transformations after just a few sound healing sessions, especially when working on one-to-one on a deeper way with a client. So I am biased, I know that, but from my own personal experience from observing clients, I am confident that there's much, much, much more than just placebo effect going on during complementary medicine, and in particular sound healing, because that's my area of expertise. So if you've enjoyed this video, there's a couple more videos coming up, so you may want to have a look at them if you haven't done so already. Please like and subscribe, especially if you want to see any more content along these lines. There'll be a lot more coming up over the coming months, and liking and subscribing also helps these videos reach a wider audience. So especially this one, where we're really interested in developing a conversation, the more people it gets to, the more people can express an opinion. So I'll see you in the next video.